Hello, the Patreon subscribers. Nice one for being with us once again. It's starting to feel a little bit like spring, but it certainly is the day that we're doing this. A bit of sunshine, a bit of light later in the day. I'm starting to feel like I'm enjoying the time of year. I fucking hate the winter and dark nights and all that. So yeah, you know, spring is on. We're on the cusp of spring, aren't we? Love is in the air. Valentine's Day this week as well. We're all meant to be feeling good and rosy and, you know, starting to think about holidays and the summer and all that kind of stuff. All nice stuff, positive stuff, happy stuff. And then Manchester City is still cunts. Manchester...
I wondered where you were going with all that then.
Manchester City is still
meant to be Valentine's Day and these cunts are still cheating.
This malicious, malignant force spoiling our beautiful game. There was a tweet this week. It was a story this week. But Martin Ziegler was who I spotted from the Times, a paper of record, saying Premier League clubs have approved tougher new rules on associated party deals, sponsorship and player transfers by the closest of votes, 12 votes to 6 with 2 abstaining. One club, suggested to be Manchester City, has warned the Premier League it could face a legal challenge over these. I mean, there just comes a point with this where someone massive, like, you know, the Prime Minister or something, just needs to come out and say, will you fuck off? You don't own football. You don't run football. You're just a club that used to be running around in playoff finals with Paul Dickoff. And now you think you run the gaff? Do one?
It's mad that, isn't it, when you think about it? They're part of a league that is meant to be a democracy and runs on votes. And a vote's gone against something they want.
And so
they've gone, we'll sue you.
Immediately mention legals.
Yeah.
Which, funnily enough, if you dig into the Spiegel stuff, which people should do if they give a shit about this thing, as I've always said, then the emails seem to suggest that that is the general stance of the club. Like, we'll just pay for boss lawyers. Yeah. We've got a lawyer that's getting the same wages of Kev De Bruyne or whatever. So yeah, I just wanted to kick off with that and have a bit of a moan about them once more, really. And you sent over some stuff from Andy Holt, who's he's the owner of Accrington Stanley, who are they? And he was talking about how we've got this voting system for the Premier League. But his point was, well, there's loads of clubs that have been in the Premier League that are no longer in the Premier League. And there's only 6 clubs that have been there the whole time. And that was his point, wasn't it? Yeah. And I think is it 54, 55, he said, have been in the Premier League since it became the Premier League. And yet they've got no vote. They've got no say. And a lot of the stuff that is going on at the very top in this separate entity but is affecting the whole pyramid, you know, they're just sorting themselves out and not giving a fuck about everyone else.
And therefore it has a knock-on effect to everybody else, yeah.
You know, because there's all the aspect of, like, the parachute payments, the aspect of, you know, like, clubs who come down tend to go back up again. Then you've got, like, you know, clubs who are in the Championship gambling on getting to the promised land, knowing that even if they failed and they come back down again, they get parachute payments, which means they might go back up. And, like, it's just this, like, bit of a fucked system, isn't it? You know, it's sort of like going towards the show we did where we said, like, is the Premier League? But we're reaching a bit of a, like, is football fucked? And, you know, it seems to be that you know, the EFL is starting to sort of try and bite back a little bit more now and sort of say, hang on a minute. And you know, we've got the regulator supposedly coming in, and, you know, you've got obviously Andy Holt trying to, like, copy and Tracy Crouch or whatever into his tweets, but basically saying, like, please, like, help with this madness. But there was a bit, you know, there's a bit among his tweets that I agreed with. I always have done, which was where he sort of said, you know, like, we should value the pyramid we have in this country because it is amazing. And I've always thought it's amazing and still do think it's amazing. And I get that there are plenty of people that just support a Premier League club and don't give a fuck. Do you know what I mean? They just want the razzmatazz, they want the stuff at the very top, and they don't give a shit about the rest. And we've seen that sort of affect the FA Cup. We've seen, like, obviously the proliferation of stuff on TV and all the rest of it. But as I've said many times, and a couple of people have messaged me to say they've took me up on this, go and have a go over the footy. Just see, now that that you've been, like, had the Premier League rammed down your throat all these years, just go one weekend, like when Liverpool aren't playing or whoever you support aren't playing, just go and watch a non-league club or go and watch a lower league club and just tell me you didn't like it. Tell me you didn't like it. But I had someone saying, like, they took the kids and enjoyed it and thanks for the recommendation. You should all do it. And, like, we should give a shit about all that, because it shouldn't just be for, like, the absolute elite, and it definitely shouldn't just be for Man City. And I don't even know where I'm going with this. I'm just ranting away. I wanted to get it off my chest. Paul Cope.
Discuss. It's like a uni dissertation. Yeah, well, I'm with you. Generally speaking, aren't I? Like and it was dead interesting when I saw that tweet thread by Andy Holt, because I'd never thought about that before. It never crossed my mind that do they have these votes? And it was something he said was quite sad, really, was how many clubs get into the Premier League and then are partaking in these votes and immediately go to self-interest.
Yeah.
Like, even though that they're not part of the established people who've always been in there, and so they're not necessarily voting in their own best interest long term. It's just like, well, we've grabbed a bit of the fucking honey pot, so let's go fucking try and hold on. Instead of thinking, well, look, we're just voting on this temporarily. Like, we're always like custodians of this place in the Premier League, so we're going to vote in the best interests of everybody in the football pyramid, including by ourselves, including, by the way, us, because we're more than likely not going to be in the Premier League for the next 10 years. We'll be going up and down as well. So, but it's actually amazing when you think about it, that how short-sighted they all become as soon as they get in.
I know.
And
makes you think about how grim it must be in them meetings, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because obviously they're not public record or anything like that. And all we ever hear is, some tweets that or whatever, when journalists get a bit of a sniff of what's happened. But, you look at Liverpool, and Liverpool aren't like, Liverpool, our current owners tried to get a Super League on the go, and things like that. And then you look at what Ian Ayre said that time, which always still bugs me to this day, about, like, people don't want to watch Bolton Wanderers, they want to watch Liverpool. And it's like, I don't want the people who are running our club to have that attitude. I want them to give a shit about footy. Yeah. There's a bigger picture.
It's a horrible thing to say, that, isn't it? Because there are people who want to watch Bolton.
Yeah,
there are.
I heard a story this morning on the radio actually about Bolton, and underlined the point, really. So it was a fella that they were asking the question, like, what's the furthest you've ever travelled for a match to then be postponed? And there's a fella who'd, like, come from, like, Thailand, I think it was, or somewhere in the Far East anyway. And he used to be a Bolton Wanderers season ticket holder, and then he'd moved over there for work. Come all the way back to watch a Bolton game with his half fella, and it got called off. I think they actually played a bit of it, and then it got called off as well because of the pitch. And I think it was Ali McQueen saying, like, you'd be at the referee's door going, hey, get back out there and put that game back on. But yeah, there are obviously people that care about all of these teams, and that's the point, isn't it? Like, I used to be sort of Tranmere Rovers curious and go over there quite a lot when they used to play on a Friday night. I've still managed to go to the odd one, not for a couple of years. I think the last one I went to, they played Forest Green Rovers. Went to 1 year ago, they were playing Oldham. But yeah, I used to go over quite regular, and I used to enjoy it. It's obviously different to going to Anfield and going to watch Liverpool and going to Premier League games, but it's still footy and it's still good. And there's an argument to say, like, the lower you get these days, the purer it feels a little bit. But yeah, we sort of covered that before. But
it's a weird attitude, isn't it? The one you just said, was it Ian Ayre you said that? It's a weird attitude, because you're like, if we don't give a fuck about all these clubs, what do you think happens to all the footballers? So then and it's almost, as I'm sitting here thinking about it, it's like, it's almost like a globalist versus a nationalist idea, isn't it? Like, so what, you're just going to from now on just rely on bringing in footballers from other countries because our game is going to die. Like, we're not going to generate players anymore in this country because if you can't, imagine if that all of a sudden, if you decide you want to become a footballer, the decision is, well, I'm either going to be good enough to play for Liverpool or Man United or nothing. Well, how many people are going to go, well, fuck that off then, I'll train to be a plumber instead. Like the whole pyramid, the whole idea of the pyramid is you've got all these footballers of all different levels, but what that does is open up the door for more people to play and more people to make a career out of it. And every part of the game, not just players, but coaches and managers and physios and the people.
Well, exactly. Because the thing is, like, I think if you have the more you dig into the lower levels of the game and grassroots and non-league and all that kind of stuff, you'll find people like who are doing it for, doing it for the love, essentially. Like, people who are going looking after pitches or painting fences or, whatever it might be. And there's something good about that. There's something pure about that. And, it's good for communities to have things like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've mentioned them before, obviously, but I loved having a footy club on my doorstep because there wasn't fucking much else going on, I can tell you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Where I grew up. So it was great to have like a bit of a focal point, something to go and watch. And, ultimately not enough people did go and watch them, but that's not the point. But, I think we should be proud of the fact that we've got a pyramid, that we've got clubs all over the country, and we should be doing everything we can to keep them, to save them, to keep them part of the culture. And that's one of the ideas behind the regulator. And it's funny that, these executive types who sort of, go into bat for our clubs on our behalf, it seems that they don't want it. Well, do you know what? I think a lot of us, the fans, we do, because we don't trust you. Because look at what you're saving up, and things like that. Oh, you're going to do that, are you? Well, actually, we wanted to buy loads of different clubs and loan all the players to each other and just have another way of farming talent into our club, because we just want to win everything, hoover up all the trophies, pay the most money, and make the game fucking boring as fuck. So I hope this regulator does have teeth. I hope it does happen. Well, it is going to happen. Still ironing out exactly how it's going to work, but it's funny the type of people that you see arguing against it. I mean, when Masters himself spoke at a select committee, I think it was, it was written all over him, the disdain he had for the idea. You hear the likes of Simon Jordan, he's not into the idea. Funny that, Simon with all his money, Simon with his working class roots these days. It just doesn't, I don't think you really get it, mate. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, it just pisses me off when I see stuff like that. I just think, absolutely fuck off.
Yeah, go on.
No, I just want to see something done about stuff like that, and it not always come down to lawyers and we're just going to go and get another lawyer and we're going to do what we want to do. You, like I said at the start, you don't run the game though, lad. Do you know what I mean? You can't come in here, take over a club and then start dictating to that country how you run your sport. It's just wild, that.
Yeah.
It's a wild attitude.
Well, it speaks volumes, doesn't it? When you see this in other industries and stuff, and people can be wealthy and sound. I think a lot of people don't get that. I've met a lot of wealthy people over the years who are actually dead sound because they became wealthy by working their bollocks off, and they've been through the ups and downs of life, so they're quite humble even though they're wealthy. Which is different to the stereotype we've been raised with a lot of the time, I think. But what I often see in people like that is they welcome things like independent regulators in their industries, because it's we want to be kept in check. We want to make sure that there's checks and balances. And I'm not I'm going to try and save myself from my own fucking ego and my own human tendencies to fucking be corrupted by power. So I welcome a regulator to come in and fucking help me out and keep me in check, and we can have checks and balances. Great, nice one. You do see that going on in certain industries. So whenever you see anyone going, don't really like the sound of an independent regulator in our sport, you're like, sorry, mate, that just speaks volumes for you, doesn't it? We don't need an independent regulator.
But also, why are we talking about it in the first place? we wouldn't be talking about having one if there wasn't a need for one.
Exactly.
Because all these clubs have gone to the wall, or they've gone bankrupt, or, you know, like Berry disappearing and all that because of how that was run and who was allowed to get control of that club. It's happened to other clubs as well. You know, we've had all the madness over, like, you know, changing the colours of kits, changing the names of clubs, changing the crest, changing the badge, whatever, naming fucking traditional grounds, stupid names, whatever. You know, there needs to be a line in the sand where we say, fuck off now, and we will have our football back, thank you.
You have made the mess of it. It's funny, isn't it? It's a bit like, I know this is going down fucking rabbit holes, but
it's all right.
It's a bit like when an incumbent government, like the political party, when there's a general election coming up, will be talking about like how bad things are and what they're going to do to fix it. And when you're like, you've been the government.
Yeah.
You've been doing this for 12 years.
This.
It's your policy. Yeah. And it's like, well, I wasn't prime minister. Like, no, you were fucking Secretary of State or something at the time. You were part of the fucking team that did it. Why would we fucking trust you to put it right? Yous were the ones that made the mess in the first place. And it still astounds me that in all of these areas that they say it with a straight face. Like, we don't need a regulator because we'll just sort it out. You're like, and your point exactly, but you made the mess. You made the mess.
Exactly.
So why would we let you sort it out? Because if you were capable of sorting it out, why didn't you? Why didn't you just sort it out before? Why have we got to this position? It's just absolute nonsense, and it speaks volumes for the people who are against it and the self-interest that's involved at all levels.
Yeah, it's grim. We saw that during COVID as well, didn't we, with the various things that went on then around football as well. I don't want it to all be, you know, I started off with the sweetness and light. That's been a bit of a heavy topic to open the show. But as usual, we're going to jump around a bit on the Patreon, or certainly when I'm in charge of it. So I wanted to go back to a tweet you threw up. Well, it was an article, wasn't it, by Max Rushton in The Guardian, but it was built on this tweet. And it was also, if anyone's listened to Max Rushton's show, they basically do this all the time and they call it the Culver House game, I think, or something like that. But the original tweet, which is all the way back in 2021, by someone called E.M. Hudson Lives. Dudes can literally just sit around and name old sports players and just have the best time. And like, so that's what he does on his, Rushton does on his show. Him and Barry Glendenning just have a little run of like naming our footy players. And then they just call time on it and move on. So do you want to have a go?
Well, it's funny when you said you want to do this. I was like, I haven't had time to think about it. But
that's not the point.
Because it wasn't just footballers, was it?
No, sports players, he said. So
yeah, because it was funny, like, the ones, because I started to think about them before, and the ones that first started popping into my head were like, which is mad, because I'm not massively into it, like Olympics and athletics and stuff. But
Daley Thompson.
Daley Thompson was the first one. It was.
Yeah.
And you know, not only him, but like his game. Do you know, like,
oh, quality, yeah.
Fucking unbelievable.
Absolutely bashing the joystick.
The decathlon or whatever it was. Yeah,
Daley Thompson's decathlon.
You just smash your fucking joystick. Yeah. That was boss, wasn't it?
Yeah. That did for many a joystick, I would suggest.
Yeah. I'd go as far as suggesting, as a capitalist idea of developing a game that makes people buy more joysticks, it was a fucking great idea. Because if you're the joystick manufacturer, you're like, these kids will be trashing their joysticks to go as fast as they can as Daley Thompson.
See what I was thinking as well, throwing this in, is that, like, you know, you shouldn't do things on the whim of comments you receive, really, should you? You know, you should just, like, have a big content plan and, like, you know, be absolutely clear where you're going and all that. But it's not really how we've run this, is it? Let's be honest. And so, you know, we do take the comments in, we do read the comments, and it felt like, you know, we went off on like a bit of a retro tangent last week, and people have said they liked it. So I thought, well, let's throw a bit of retro tangent in this week.
Yeah.
So you've thrown Daley Thompson in. I'll ask Alex Higgins in. If we're just doing if we're doing sport rather than just footy players. But
well, Alex Higgins, as soon as I hear Alex Higgins, I think Jimmy White. That was it's funny, this is proper
Willie Thorne.
This is proper middle-aged territory, because as soon as we start to talk about these names, I'm getting all like a warm glow about me. I was about to say to you, it was better back then, wasn't it? Like, do you know what I mean? The good old days of snooker. Snooker was boss back then, wasn't it?
Well, this is
With
what
those players.
It was absolutely brilliant. Yeah.
Jimmy White couldn't win a world title, and he's off getting bladdered and getting off his head with
have you ever read the Alex Higgins book?
No.
I think it's called The Hurricane or something like that. It's absolutely brilliant, mate. It's honestly one of the best sports books I've ever read. And if you've got even a passing interest in snooker, and you know this era, and I'm guessing from comments, etc., that a lot of our demographic are from this era and do know who he is, you should definitely go and read it. It's honestly absolutely brilliant. One of the best books I've ever read.
Autobiography, is it?
It's now, is it an autobiography or is it just sort of like a book about him?
From the Eye of the Hurricane, My Story. Would it be that one?
No, I don't think it is that one. There's another one. But it's absolutely brilliant. And like my nan's into snooker, as I've mentioned before as well. And so I get her the odd snooker book. And I got her that. And like, you know, obviously he's a bit of a wild child and all of his, you know, his story's absolutely mad. But I mean, I think she tries to, you know, come across as though she's a bit prim and proper at times, but I think on the sly, even she enjoyed that particular book. I'm just going to look it up now.
Well, that era was classic, wasn't it? For, like, to be sitting there, they'd have a bevy. They'd have a bevy while they were playing.
That's the one. It's just called, so there's more than one Alex Higgins book, so you're right to say I should recommend the right one. It's just called The Hurricane. That is that's absolutely brilliant, that book. I'm pretty sure that's the one.
The Hurricane, okay,
yeah. So you might have some trouble actually getting hold of it by the looks of where I just went on the website. But yeah, that's good. We're going off on a tangent. It doesn't really matter. Just buy every Alex Higgins book and one of them will be the right one. You can probably get them for dead cheap because they've been out for years as well. So yeah, I'll have him. I'll have John McEnroe. You Cannot Be Serious. But you're meant to just do it. You might, like, when they do it, they don't stop for the chat in between.
Oh, don't they
just go like Reggie Blinker.
Yeah, there's joy in reminiscing about them now.
Tony Daly,
Linford Christie.
Oh, here we go. Did I say Willie Thorne? Willie Thorne.
Jonathan Edwards. How about that one?
Yeah.
Joe, would be interesting getting comments saying like how many people don't know who we're talking about with any of them.
Yeah,
because I think Jonathan Edwards is a niche one from that. It's just that one. Like, he was boss, wasn't he? But he was a mad Olympian. Him. He was like a dead conservative guy, wasn't he? Wasn't he highly religious and stuff? But just fucking boss at the long jump or the triple jump, whatever it was.
I was going to Google it, but then that's probably against the spirit. So I'll risk making a show of myself. Sergei Bubka. Was he the pole vault fella?
I don't know. Yeah, his name rings a bell, but I couldn't.
Well, I'm throwing it. Well, you know what? The way they play the game, don't justify it. They just say it.
Well, it's funny because I was about to the name that keeps popping into my head, but it's probably not long. But I was going to say it's probably not old enough. But Andrei Arshavin keeps popping into my head. Sergei Bubka. Yeah,
pole vault, Ukrainian pole vaulter, represented the Soviet Union until its dissolution. Yeah, so that's
Mickey Quinn.
Mickey Hazard.
Mickey Hazard? Who's Mickey Hazard?
Played for Coventry, didn't he?
Did he? I don't remember.
David Burrows.
David Speedy.
David Speedy was all. I like.
That's his second mention on our show.
When I went to the Rap though, like there was like, I think it was like Gutman and maybe even Neil as well, where they were like, he was absolutely shit him and all this. And I was like, he scored against Everton, scored against Man United.
Yeah, you can't No, if you've scored against Everton and Man United as a Liverpool player, you can't. What I mean. You don't get remembered as shit.
I'm having him as a little cult hero.
Yeah, fucking
and also he did that thing as well where he went up to scored at Anfield against Everton and then celebrated at the Annie Road end and said he didn't know where the cop was. Yeah. Quality.
Yeah.
Great days.
There's no way that's shit. Fucking hell. Imagine if we became Liverpool players and they were the only things we did in our entire Liverpool career.
You'd take that.
You'd fucking dying off that for the rest of your life, wouldn't you?
I'd have it done so that like the whole of the chimney breast was like me scoring against Everton or something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Get one of them murals painted on the side of your own house. Imagine that.
Yeah, just
like do the Brendan Rodgers thing, like, but to the fucking nth degree.
Yeah, imagine a poster like, coming down the road. Yeah. Where does Gareth live? Yeah. Oh, you know, the one with his own face on the front scoring against Everton.
Yeah. The house with the mural on.
100%.
That'd be fucking brilliant. That. Imagine, Joe would be brilliant just doing that anyway.
Yeah.
Like, imagine my house has just got a picture of me on the outside. So when you're like, where does he live? There.
Yeah. And like you just walk out the mouth in the morning. Yeah.
That'd be brilliant. That. Make it so that like different windows are your eyes.
Yeah.
And the mouth is your door. That'd be fucking great.
And all this conversations without a spliff. It sounds like one that you should be having with one. But yeah, I mean, I'm conscious about whether that's like how long we can go with that, and also whether we'll get not the best one this chaps.
Yeah, lads. All right, lads. Don't usually send you this email, but usually like your stuff. Just want to tell you that just sounded like he's reading out a list of names. Yeah, basically was.
Okay, so we'll leave it there. I thought we'd reel them off for hours and we'd never stop, but I don't think it's quite worked out like that. I wanted to ask you as well what you bought with your pocket money, because obviously like last week we did a bit of like, you know, childhood growing up, what it was like. We talked about paper rounds, and quite a few people came to him and said, oh, I had to do that, collect the money and all that kind of stuff. So I thought I'd ask you about pocket money and about your memories of pocket money, and also what you did with your pocket money.
Well, this is it's making me laugh before we even start talking about it, because I haven't thought about any of this because I haven't had time. But it's good timing, because like my eldest stepson, who's 6 in 2 weeks, he lost his first tooth a week ago. And Joe, obviously we did the whole tooth fairy thing. It's fucking bananas listening to kids now. We even had it tonight. So we said to him, you put it under your pillow and you get some money. And me and his mum hadn't talked about how much money that would be as we're putting him to bed. So he's like, how much will it be? And I went, how much do you think? And he said, 50 quid.
What? Yeah. I thought you were going to say like, you know, because it's mad how it's changed. Like he wanted it as a bank transfer or something.
That'd be the next society, thing. Like. That'd be the next thing.
50 quid for a tooth?
I've had to have conversations with him about trying to like, that's the conversation I had with him, you can imagine me. I was like talking him through. I was like, well, how many teeth have you got? And I was like doing the maths of how much money it would cost the tooth fairy to pay him for his teeth. And then his little brother, be $3,000 per house. Then for every house in the street. I went, the tooth fairy hasn't got that much money. And he's looking at me like, what the fuck are you talking about? Because this is just some weird concept. How does the tooth fairy have a limited amount of money? Do you know what I mean?
2 quid.
Well, I mean, I think 2 quid is more than sufficient. I was like, I know Joey's back to that. He's like, fucking hell, I used to get 20p when I was a lad. Yeah. And that was enough. And we both laughed afterwards, because like, fucking hell, because he's a bright lad. If you started telling kids they were getting a fucking $5 or a $10 for their teeth, they'd be fucking knocking them out, wouldn't they? Lost another tooth.
50 quid, yeah. Like how much
is that game? Yeah. How much is that game for me Nintendo Switch? 50. Sound, I'll just take out 5 teeth. But back to the question. What did you buy with your pocket money? Well, a few things you've done in there. Well, this will show the difference in our age, actually, because at that age, it is a difference, isn't it? Like,
of course, yeah.
4 years back then. So I was in the shoot era. For the
shoot and match, yeah.
For the footy magazines, yeah.
League ladders.
Yeah, were you still getting magazines when shoot and match were out?
Yeah. I had all of them. I had the league ladders. I still miss the league ladders. Every now and again, I Google them to see if they're still a thing. And they do seem to like reappear. And then also there are like various people on the internet who like make their version of them. And like, I liked it because like, talked about it before on here, haven't we? About it, like my awareness of the rest of football is probably like the lowest it's ever been now.
Yeah.
But like when I was a teenager or younger, and I had the league ladders, I'd update them religiously, so I knew who was top and bottom of basically every league.
Different leagues, yeah.
And like, you know, took a genuine interest and used to like, you know, read all the reports and all that. I wouldn't say like all of that's down now to me like being cynical about footy, despite the first bit of the show today. But it's more just a time thing. Like I just feel like, you know, I'm time poor these days, and certainly haven't got the time to dig into all of that detail. Maybe that's wrong. No, I'm probably just fanning on my phone And like, you know, I could take a deeper into. That's why I keep thinking I'd quite like to have a league ladder. You know, I think it'd be quite nice to do it and like update it, and then you'd know, wouldn't you? Because it's going in that information.
I would like to see that, like in the next phase of your life, that's part of what you spend your week doing.
Doing me league ladders.
Other people in your life going, what? Like, well, I can't come around today. I've got
doing me league ladders.
That's going to take me an hour. Oh.
Doing me league ladders today, lad. I'm not out. Well, I got pocket money off. I think they get some off my mum and dad. I feel like I'm always slagging my mum and dad off. They get some.
Mums and dads got a fucking pasting last week. Didn't
I know.
they?
Yeah.
I didn't see any dissenting voices.
No, loads of people saying the same.
Everyone was saying the same thing. Right? Yeah, you're absolutely right.
We got pocket money off my nan and granddad definitely as well. Anyway, but the things I remember getting, so I put down Morgan's 50p store. Do you remember that on Bold Street? So it was like, as suggested, everything was 50p in there. So it was like, I used to go in because I could afford 50p, like, and I'd have a mooch. I mean, I'm not sure.
What type of stuff was you doing? Because 50p is quite expensive for back then.
Yeah, I mean, it was like, you know, a bit like your pound shops of today, like, you know what I mean? We haven't moved on loads there. Just shite. But they had like, you know, tat, plazzy toys and guns and, you know, whatever, crap like that. So I remember sort of buying things like that. I also remember, and obviously this is like, you know, the young section of my life. There was a pocket money section at Blacklers as well. Which is obviously long gone, but it was like a big department store in Liverpool. But they literally had a section downstairs that said pocket money section, and I can vividly remember being at it, looking at the stuff and buying stuff from there. But I was big on my comics, like I don't think that there isn't, there basically isn't a comic culture now. I wouldn't have thought. I mean, I remember getting my kids like, you know, Peppa Pig magazines and things like that, but they weren't overly interested, like. But I used to get loads, yeah. So I put down here Dandy, Beano, Wizard and Chips and Buster.
Did you get all them? Yeah. I don't think I ever got. I don't remember buying them, but then this is another one of those dodgy topics where testing my memory of childhood. I remember reading I definitely read the Beano and the Dandy, but I don't remember buying them. I don't remember buying them with my own pocket.
Do you remember like
I'd always be buying sweets, I think.
Yeah, I obviously bought sweets, bought footies. I remember a Trophy 5 footy, which is like a bit of an upgrade on the flyaways. It was still a plazzy footy, like
just a bit heavier.
But it was a bit heavier, so it didn't fly away. So you got a bit of a truer shot off it.
Flyaways, do you think people still call them that? Is this another one where there'll be a language barrier with people who are listening?
I think it's self-explanatory what a flyaway is, isn't it?
Do you never think that when you're watching modern footy now? I saw Trent actually make this hand gesture after he had a shot last week. Do you know when people go like, oh, like the way they can move a ball these days? I often watch footy now and go, nah, that's just because the ball's too light. That's what flyaways used to do. If you hit a flyaway hard in a straight line, it would fucking wobble in the middle of its flight, wouldn't it? And I saw Trent hit a shot and the goalie, Joe, like lost the flight of the ball because it was straight at him and parried it away. And Trent like laughed and went to him. He made that, this shit for the people listening on podcast, but made like a wiggly line gesture with his hand, which is exactly what we used to do with flyaways. Fucking hell, that just...
Funny enough,
that's not because we were putting fucking bend on it. Do you know when people go, oh, it's because Ronaldo kicks the valve? Fuck off, it's because the ball's too light.
One of my mates, funnily enough, put a goal on our group the other day in WhatsApp, and he was making the very same point, really. It was like an old goal, it was a free kick. And he hadn't seen it, and neither I, and I've already forgotten who it actually was, but it was like a free kick from like, you know, miles out, and the lad had got a mad bend on it and had gone into the top corner. And he was like, I've never seen this goal before. What a goal. And he said, and also, that was when the footies didn't fly everywhere. Like, so, you know, he was making the same point. But yeah. Trophy 5, like, didn't fly everywhere like the Shoot 5 ones did. So, like, tended to try and get a Trophy 5 rather than a Shoot 5. But yeah, do you remember any of the strips, like the cartoon strips out of any of the cartoons, out of any of the comics I mentioned there? So I can remember some mad ones, like obviously like Dennis the Menace and things like that, and
that's the easy one to
Desperate Dan, Corky the Cat, Bash Street Kids,
I remember Bash Street Kids.
Billy Whiz. There was
I remember Billy Whiz.
There was Must Have a Million.
Must Have a Million. Who was he?
An Arab
You've
fella.
got
He was
memory for stuff like this.
an Arab fella. I know. So I said that the other week, didn't I? About like just the shit.
There must be a way to monetize it somewhere.
I know. I don't think there is though. Well, maybe this is it.
That was a spin-off.
Yeah,
podcast just about this.
Robbo's mad memories of being a kid.
Well, in fairness, as I was coming out tonight, because I had to say to the kids, so I'm not going to be like, I was just trying to explain to them because I've just been disappearing on a Monday. So I was just showing them, like, do you know, I've shown you this. That's what I'm going to do tonight. And the eldest went to me, that's it. That's grown-up YouTube though, isn't it? And I went, yeah. And he went, you should do a kids YouTube channel. Kids YouTube show. I went, yeah, should we? Yeah. He went, yeah. And what should we do? He went, play Red Ball. So that was his suggestion. So
Red Ball?
Yeah, have you ever played Red Ball?
No,
it's like a game on the fucking fire. It's just a dead fucking frustrating game where it's just a ball that you like roll across and jumping through levels. It's like a shitty Super Mario.
Oh, right, okay.
But it's on the Fire Stick. So it's good for little kids.
And he reckons we should just play that and put it out as a video?
Yeah, so like there are videos on, loads of stuff he watches online.
Some might say that's better than some of the content we've created.
Right. We're down a dangerous fucking path here, aren't we? But we would probably get more views. We'd probably monetize it easier. Because there are fellas who literally, and they're not much younger than us. That's what they do. They sit and play shitty games and talk over them.
Like Discord and all that is all that type of stuff, isn't it?
Is it?
Yeah. This week, Robbo and Kopi play Horace Goes Skiing.
Yeah.
See how we get on with that.
So yeah, no, I do remember all of those, but well, go on. Have you got any others tapping into your memory? I was
just trying to remember that, if I could think of any. Roger the Dodger, that was one.
I remember Roger the Dodger, yeah.
I think I can actually remember a Roger the Dodger, like there's a script of one of the, like what he said in one of the strips.
Really?
Yeah, because I've got this anyone who knows me well, like knows that like I do this thing of like, so like my best mates, my kids, like Kelly, whatever, will say like, I've always done this thing of like repeating things. It could maybe be a form of like Tourette's or something. I don't know. I'm not trying to do down people who have got that, but you know what I mean? Like, so once I get something in my head, I'll tend to like repeat it over and over. And I think that's why I remember like this particular, I'm sure it was Roger the Dodger. So he like goes into a newsagent's and basically just goes like, give me a bottle of lemonade before the trouble starts. And like, so the fella gets like a bottle of lemonade and he's like, give us a packet of crisps before the trouble starts. And he packet of crisps. And he keeps asking for all these things. And then like, the fella says, well, what's this trouble that's going to start? And he's like, when I don't pay for it and pegs it.
That's classic.
And like, I was only a kid when I read that and that made me laugh. Do you know what I mean? And I don't know how it stuck in my head for like, whatever it is, like 40 years probably or whatever.
I know we've talked about this in the past, but think of the space that's taken up in your brain.
I know.
And your brain's gone. We're going to put this in a permanent memory bank. So when you've got Alzheimer's in like an old people's home, you'll be sitting there and they'll be like the nurses coming up and you'll be going to them, give us a glass of lemonade before
the trouble starts.
I can't even get that out. Imagine that. Imagine if you're sitting there genuine and that's your oldest memory is that. So you just keep it. And the nurses are going like, what's he doing? Oh, he's doing his fucking line from Roger the Dodger again.
But I loved like, even in like I loved, I don't think it's as good now, but I used to absolutely love Fizz as well. Like, just, and I can remember, that's obviously easier to remember because it's not as long ago. But like me and one of my mates absolutely buzz off Fizz. And like I say, we'll occasionally buy it and see if there's something still good in it, but it's definitely not as good as it once was. And that's not just because you're older thing. Yeah. It just isn't as good. But there was so there's obviously like the staples that people will always remember from Viz, like, Fat Slags, Roger Melly, whatever, like ones that were in it for years, Biffa Bacon. But like occasionally they come up with like a new strip and you might never see it again. It might just be like a one-off or whatever. And I remember like a more modern one. And it was a Fireman Fritter. He's got Twitter up his shitter. and so as suggested, like he had Twitter up his bum, and like, but he was also a fireman, so he'd be like, putting a fire out, and then he'd be getting like, like signals from his bum saying like, it's Stephen Fry. he's eating a packet of crisps, the cheese and onion. And it's just fucking stupid stuff. But that's me. That's my humour. Like I've always had a stupid humour when I was a kid, and I still have now. And like when I read that particular strip, I just laughed my head off. And there's probably loads of people listening right now going, "What is he on about here?" But I just thought I'd throw that in a bit of cartoon, cartoon and comics chat.
Well, have you seen? Well, it wasn't. Well, I was thinking that I did probably buy it because you used to be able to get these little like booklets. Have you seen He-Man's coming back?
No.
Yeah, I saw it. It just
the cartoon or the film?
The cartoon, and it like unless I've dreamt it, like do you have that thing on Fire Stick where like the slide and like previews or stuff across? Yeah. Just popped up He-Man, and I was like, "Fucking!"
And it was new, not just like the
because he was like
again.
a fucking. It's like He-Man, but it's like 21st century. Do you know, like the original He-Man? Yeah, but it was like if you think about old cartoons and stuff, everything was dead dull, wasn't it? The colours were all dead dull and all that. And He-Man was muscly, but he wasn't fucking. This was like 21st century He-Man on fucking steads type thing. Mm. But I was like, I'm definitely gonna watch that and get the kids into it if that's going. But it made me think of. We might have talked about this before, just using the catchphrase. Do you remember I always remember the moral at the end of the story.
The lesson.
And I was just laughing like we should do that at the end of podcasts and stuff. Like imagine at the end of every meeting you ever have with people and just go, right, so everyone, the moral of this story.
What we've learned today is that Ram Man's a bit of a prick.
Be nice to your friends or they'll chop your head off with a sword. So yeah, that's on its way back.
Well,
yeah, so we'll have to check it out.
I mean, I was gonna like say like about chocolate and crisps that you remember buying, but then that's really detailed memories, isn't it? And like I'm not sure I've got the recall on that myself.
Well, the only two that came up, but they were probably when I was a bit older. Were like, was it Dib Dabs? Do you remember?
Oh, yeah, I remember them
with the sherbet.
Yeah,
basically just eat. And when you think about it, like what the kids eating, you just eating fucking sugar, dipping a sugar stick into sugar and eating it. I love these and I still buy them now. Choc dips.
Yeah, that's like them.
Dips?
Yeah, I used to like them.
They were like 20p,
yeah. I remember them.
20p back in the day.
Used to spend a fortune on footy stickers as well.
Yeah.
And I can remember once as well, like one of the shop owners being like a bit of a grass because like I'd saved up the money. It wasn't like ill-gotten gain or anything. Like I'd just saved up pocket money for a good while. And then went in the shop one day and just blew the lot on footy stickers. And then he went to me ma, like your lad came in and bought all these stickers, you know. And then she's going, I know. And then she was,
but he let you buy them, took your money.
And then my ma's going, where did you get that money from? And I was like, I saved it up. He's like, why have you bought all that? And I'm like, because I'm into footy and I want to fill the fucking album. And I need John Lyle to fucking, you know what I mean, to complete West Ham or whatever. Yeah. Do you remember though as well, like, you know,
great days then.
You know when you're standing in the playground though with your big like bunch of stickers and you know you're obviously doing the swaps. Did you used to say like stuff that on hindsight was the worst thing to possibly say? So you go like go need, but not only that, like I can remember set from my own mouth saying a need for the set.
Yeah.
So then they're like, oh well, I'll have fucking 50 stickers then, and I want fucking 5 foil badges or whatever. Yeah.
Imagine if we'd have got older. Like, imagine if you could go back to the younger version of yourself and teach them negotiation strategies. Yeah. Just be like, nah, don't. You see one in their pack where you're like, I need that. Fucking keep quiet on that. Yeah. Let them go past it. Then go. Well, I'll take what you need of mine. Wait till they say what they need off you, and then you fucking take your snaffle there one in amongst 10 others.
Yeah. Did you ever send off for them to complete the book?
I think I did. You know, I think once I did that because it was just like it's mad that you could do that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you know they used to have big like they'd have big like conventions?
I know. Yeah.
And you could go and
I remember
to do all that.
You know what? I think I only ever completed one. I think it was like 86 or 86, 87 around then. But I remember as well, it might have been that sticker album or one around that era as well. Just remember like West Brom being in it. I think it was West Brom. And like their sponsor was like a no smoking sign. Do you remember that?
No.
Weird.
That's weird, isn't it? I do remember like I have like a vivid memory of like even as a kid, maybe I just always realised this, like footy players back then all looked about 50.
Yeah.
Like 100%. All the fellas were just like dead old fellas, weren't they? Like when you compare to what it is now.
Yeah.
or like Joe.
Well, you mentioned Mick Quinn before, didn't you?
Yeah, they all look like Mick Quinn, basically.
Yeah.
Like the West Brom team would all look like Mick Quinn, all a bit podgy. Like none of them look like athletes. Do you know what I mean?
Beat anyone over the yard.
Yeah, yeah.
I know, and that's a good example of how much the game's changed, hasn't it? Because by their own admission, a lot of them, and in the books and all the rest of it, they're going on the piss all the time and all the rest of it. And now, loads of teetotalers, loads, absolutely dedicated to the game, and to the extreme of your Lewandowskis and your Ronaldos, where they probably never have an ice cream or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, then there was 100% a lot of ale tanks.
Yeah. Well, we've referenced our James Milner story in the past, haven't we? When we interviewed him, and he was like, "No, I will." You were like, "Do you ever treat? Yeah." He's like, "Yeah, I will have a cookie." But we all laughed.
Yeah,
and like,
not smash a packet. No,
Mickey Quinn was smashing packets of cookies, wasn't he, back then?
Well, it was funny. Like when I went to work in Manchester I worked there for a good while. Obviously, Mick's rubbing shoulders with all kinds of people from that neck of the woods, and some of the harder fellas. There was one fella who was out from Berry ways, and he said Liverpool fan. Yeah, he said a lot of the Liverpool players back in the day, talking Alan Kennedy type era, they'd go out there Berry ways to go on the ale. Because no one knew them as much, and there was nightclubs and stuff that they could just, not be bothered in as much as if they went in round it, and probably escaped the censure of club officials, etc.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was funny that he brought, and again, obviously you wouldn't get away with that for Rashford goes to Belfast for a night out, and it's all over the papers, and you can literally hear on the video as well, can't you? The bouncer or whoever saying put your phone away, you'll get him into trouble.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't see the video.
And it's well, yeah, you did, mate.
Yeah.
So, that's another huge difference now. The other thing I wanted to mention as well, I follow a few of these, sort of sites pages on Facebook with 70s and 80s. When you were a kid, do you remember this type of shit? And one popped up on my Facebook, and it made me laugh. And I did think when I put this on the agenda, exactly what you said before. There is a bit of an age difference between me and you, not that much, but enough where we probably watched, there's probably some kids programs I watched that you won't have a fucking clue what I'm on about. Did you watch Bod?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think you would have watched Bod.
Yeah. I was joking about this the other day with someone I'm 7 years older than my girlfriend.
Pigeon Street.
And I was like, that it's at our age, me and you being 4 years age difference means no difference at our age, does it?
No.
Me being 7 years older than my girlfriend means nothing when I'm 44 and she's 37. But whenever she'll be talking about something and going she'll be telling a story about when she was 12, and I'm like, yeah, I was going out in town then because I was 19.
Yeah,
and all of a sudden you're like, I feel like a bit of a fucking pedo now. Do you know what I mean? It's at that age you're like, yeah, this is all weird now. Let's stop talking about it. Bit different with us, but yeah, that 4 years back then is massively different.
Mr. Ben,
because when I'm 4, you're 8. That's
did you watch big. Mr. Ben?
Mr. Ben was in my awareness, but
Pigeon Street.
Pigeon Street, I remember, yeah.
But
I loved
Pigeon Street.
Were you still in? Was it Dick Dastardly and the Catch the Pigeon?
Classic,
and all that.
Yeah.
I used to fucking love
Brilliant, that.
Catch the Pigeon.
Well, anyway, the thing that I threw on here to take us into the last thing we're going to talk about, I think, on today's Patreon, there was this cartoon about. So do you know? I mean,
this means nothing to me.
Do you not know it? No. So it was this fella with a mandolin. And it was a cartoon, and it there was a song, and it was I am a storyteller, and my stories must be told.
See, but it's funny as you started singing it. Then just something inside me went, "Oh, I do. I've seen this."
And it was in England I am John, in Germany I'm fucking Johann or whatever, and so that just randomly popped up on my Facebook, and I immediately started laughing. Because there's a lad that I still hang around with now that I've known since I was 11 and was in my class in first year. And me and him, I've talked already about having a stupid sense of humour. Me and him have both got a stupid sense of humour. And we'll still to this day, we went out at the weekend. It was one of our mates' birthdays. And me and him in particular will sometimes just go like extra daft beyond everyone else. And they're all like, you know, you're 47 now, lad, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But and it goes all the way back to school. So that cartoon and that song, we used to sing it. We used to sing it to a lad in our class because he was always coming out with like the biggest lies.
Oh, this ties into the thing about the liars.
That's why I put it. So I just thought, like, you know, obviously we're not going to name names here because, you know, you don't want to be on any kind of broadcast calling someone a liar directly, but it's really light-hearted, you know. So we used to sing about this lad because he'd just come up with like stuff which was just so incredulous and so obviously a lie, but he'd proper be serious, and he'd come in saying it, and I was always confused and still am as to why he said it, and did he really think we were going to go, have you? Yeah. So like I wrote some of the ones down that he came out with. So after Rocky 4 was out, and you know, obviously like Drago and all that kind of stuff, he started saying that he had an uncle in Russia, which he previously never mentioned.
Never mentioned it before he'd seen Rocky.
But then
coincidentally,
once everyone's into Drago and like into that story. Oh, by the way, what an uncle in Russia.
To mention.
Yeah. And you're like, you haven't, lad.
Yeah.
You know, it's obvious. And like I even like I had like an exercise book that I titled "This Lad's Name and Lies," and I just used to like document the lies because there was so many of them. But obviously going back a long way, but some of the ones I remember he came out with was he said he had a mansion in Bolton. Why fucking Bolton?
That's
I don't
mad,
know.
isn't it?
But you know, like he's living in Eighton and we're all going to the same school, and then he's got a mansion in Bolton, and it's like, well, if you've got that, lad, why are you living where you're living and coming to this school? Do you know what I mean? It doesn't really add up again, mate. Do you know? There was one as well where, like, you know, like any school, like in any place or whatever, you know, some people were doing. Sound like such an half fella saying this statement, but I'll go with it. Some people were doing drugs. Oh no! But I remember like some people did trips, like, and it was I never fancied that. I've got to be honest with you. Like the idea of like being out of control and seeing gear in front of your eyes that isn't actually there or whatever. Any of those type of ideas, I never fancied it. Do you know what I mean? But some people did do it, and obviously would come in and talk about their stories of doing it. And there was various like ones of, you know, on the believability scale about what they saw or what happened or whatever. And then, you know, other people's stories that get relayed through and gradually get madder as they got relayed to various different people. And I think this lad just basically knew that was like what people were talking about. And so it was like, I've got to have a story about when I had a trip. And he came up with this idea that he was in the graveyard in Roby and he saw flying Commodore 64s. And it was just, and bear in mind, you know, I've already said some of his other lies, and it was just like, you never. Why would like it doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? Like I don't know how all that gear works, but like I'm imagining like it comes from somewhere or whatever. You know what I mean? Like some other kind of thought gets I don't know, but flying Commodore 64s in a graveyard just felt like black. He also said that he saw a ninja on his back fence once as well. And this was around the time when we were all into martial arts films and Jackie Chan and what have you. And
a ninja just popped up on the back of his fence.
Just randomly around that time, he just seen a ninja on his back fence.
But that happens, doesn't it? Sometimes a ninja just pops up on the back of your...
You're closing the curtains and there's a ninja.
Sometimes it's a blue tit, sometimes it's a robin, sometimes it's a ninja.
Just give him a little tip of the ass and let him get on with
his... fucking somersaults off.
Did you have anyone like that? Like absolute, like just not just a liar, but like extreme lies where you're like, I don't even know why you're doing this.
Well, it's as I read this before, not in school. So the one person that popped up for me in school, he wasn't a liar, but he was just a bit mad. Like, and we were good mates when we were younger, and as he got older, he just got madder. Which I'm sure people say the same thing about me, but now as the years have gone on, he used to say things to us like. He was quite like into science and all that. And I always remember him saying to me, he'd invented a time machine. and I was like, well, what do you mean? You've invented a time machine? Can you like, well, let's use it then. And he was like, well, I can't build it yet. And I was like, why? And he went, well, the stuff you need to build it hasn't been invented yet. And I was like, well, that doesn't fucking make any sense, does it? So you haven't built anything. You've basically just written like, I'll build a time machine. What's it made up of? Something that someone's going to invent in the future. That's not you inventing a time machine. That's just you writing down that someone's going to invent something. But he was like, it's a similar thing. He was adamant. He was like annoyed with me that I didn't believe him that he'd invented a time machine.
Where's the almanac, lad?
Yeah.
Let's get some bets on.
Mate, that was my whole thing. But the one that came up for me, and as you've been sitting talking, I've been thinking, can I tell this story without naming who it is? And doesn't matter because we're on Patreon and he's never going to watch and none of my family are going to watch. So I'll just say, like, it's one of my cousins, right? So we're not talking about school era here. We're talking about grown-up stuff. And this doesn't happen anymore, really. But there was a phase, probably between us being about 25 and 35, where the maddest stories, like, so I'll give you the biggest one that ever happened that popped into my head was, I'm chatting to my mum and I'm pausing because I'm trying to think which way around the story was. My uncle, I nearly named my uncle. My uncle said to my mum one day, what did Paul think of Thailand? And my mum went, he really liked it, but why have you just asked me that? And he was like, well, he went, didn't he? And she went, yeah, but he went like, when he was asking, he went like 10 years ago. He went after uni. And my uncle went, no, he went with my lad a month ago. And my mum was like,
what?
He never. And he was like, he did. Oh, my son, who's my cousin, so his son, my cousin, went to Thailand and he went with your Paul. And you're like, so this comes back to me, obviously, because he's told his dad's going to speak to my mum.
I could think of some reasons why you might want to blag someone else was with you when you went to Thailand.
100%, but this is this ties into the web of lies we realised was going on over the years, do you know what I mean? It's like, so basically, he's gone to Thailand by himself, and to cover that up, instead of saying to his own dad, I just went by myself, he's told the lie that he went with me. As if that lie can't fall apart in like 3 seconds. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because his dad mentions it to my mum. My mum goes, oh, Paul never went to Thailand last month. And she asks me, and I'm like, Mum, I fucking saw you last month. I didn't go to Thailand. Why would I lie about going to Thailand or not? I'm not up to anything. If I was going to Thailand with my cousin, I'd tell you I was going on holiday with my cousin. I never went. And it was just like a series of lies like that. But he would tell lies that like his cover story would be like that. And you're like, this is crazy. It makes you're never going to get away with that lie. I mean,
Bolton's big enough that I don't know if he did have a mansion.
Exactly.
But I don't think he did.
Yeah. But
and Russia's big as well.
Think about this, and my cousin's a fairly bright fella, do you know what I mean? Like, the fact that we got to a point in life where we'd just laugh about it when he wasn't there. I'd just be like, well, you know what he's like. He just made something up.
It's like on the Fast Show, innit? Like there was a couple of characters, wasn't there, where like, you know, one of the reasons it was funny was because you sort of all know a fella like that. But
yeah. Well, the character.
So there's the fella who always changed. There's a fella who always changed his opinion, wasn't there, in the pub?
Yeah.
Remember him?
Yeah.
And then there was the other one as well, like the hardest game in the world. No matter what you said, he'd done it, and he'd done it for 30 years, man and boy, and all that.
Yeah.
And like you do get that, but seemingly always in the pub as well. Like, you know, wherever you drank for, you know, however many years, when you had the big group of people, I'm presuming that was like a fairly common thing, and then it breaks up as you get older and you don't have the big massive group anymore. There'd always be someone who'd be a bit of a blagger. Oh yeah, I ended up had a fight with these 6 lads on the hard shoulder and all that.
Yeah.
Did you, mate? Yeah. And you're just here now, and there's nothing on, no bruises on your face. You just did them all in.
Yeah.
Sound.
Great. Yeah.
Well, we'll leave it there. That's been this week's Patreon show, a random one. But I'm getting more and more comfortable with them being random. You know what I mean? Like, you know, if you want them to be less random, and you want us to go back to, a big topic like, or do the football knobheads, I always say, don't I? Let us know, send us an email, put stuff in the comments, all the usual ways of contacting us. And equally, if you like how we are doing it and you're happy with this sort of comfortable chat, meandering through childhood and everything else, then let us know about that as well. Hopefully you enjoyed it. We'll see you again next week either way. There will be the free show. There will be the Patreon show. If you think anyone else would like it out there that tell them about it. See you next week.